Hello YouTubers, and welcome to my top 5 flight sims stroke combat simulator games. I want to make something very clear straight from the start. This is not meant to be a list of the top 5 flight sims or combat sims out there at the moment. This is simply a list of my own top 5 favourite flight simulators stroke combat simulators which have been most endearing to me over the years. And now, let's get on with the show. Pilotwings was first released back in the early 1990s on the Super Nintendo. It was great fun to play and had quite a large cult following. For me though, Pilotwings 64 was an even better game. It obviously had better graphics, but the feeling of flight you got whilst playing the game was simply incredible. I remember when I first heard about the release of Pilotwings 64, I so much wanted to play this game, so I went out and purposely bought myself an N64 and a copy of Pilotwings 64 just so I could experience it. Wow, did I have loads of fun playing this game. If you haven't tried it, go and play it, it's a fantastic game. Microprose were amongst the early pioneers on creating simulators for home computers. Now, Microprose didn't just create flight simulators like Project Starfighter and F-15 Strike Eagle, they also created simulators on submarine warfare amongst others, such as Silent Service and Red Storm Rising. But amongst all the simulators that Microprose created, there is one very special simulator for me, and it will always have a very special place in my heart. Pretty much everybody who saw that opening sequence was amazed by it. I remember showing my friends and family, and even they were impressed by it too. It doesn't seem a great deal now, but back in the days of the 8-bit computers, it was really impressive. In fact, I think it's one of the greatest opening sequences ever to any game. The presentation of Gunship was absolutely phenomenal. Microprose were renowned for their presentation of their simulators. It even included a keyboard overlay, which added buckets to the presentation and atmosphere of the game. Now, I must admit, when I first started to play the game itself, I found the graphics to be rather bland and simple. But it was because the graphics were so simple that the scenery and world could go by pretty quick, certainly quick in the days of the 8-bit computers. But I digress. The game simply wasn't about the graphics. The presentation, coupled with the great sound, coupled with an incredible atmosphere and great controls, makes Gunship one of the very best helicopter simulators ever to be released. A top 5 favourite flight simulator list wouldn't be complete without including one of the mighty Microsoft Flight Simulator games. My first encounter with Flight Simulator was Flight Simulator 2 on the mighty Commodore 64 way back in the early 1980s. I played that game for weeks upon weeks, flying from one corner of the globe to the other, and absolutely got immersed in it. In later years, I bought Flight Sim 95, Flight Sim 98, and Flight Simulator 2000, but I just couldn't get interested in them again. The level of immersion just wasn't there for me. I watched a few YouTube videos on Flight Simulator X, and I really got interested in Flight Sim again. So I bought Flight Simulator X. In fact, I got given it as a present, and I got given a commercial package with it as a present, and my interest just rocketed, it skyrocketed. It's not just about the simulation in Flight Simulator X, it's all about the commercial packages you can buy for it, and how it improves your enjoyment and immersion in the product. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's only set to get better as the years go along. Come with me, if you will, back to the year of 1989. I had just replaced what was probably my favourite home computer of all time, the Commodore 64, with a brand spanking new 16-bit Commodore Amiga. Back in those days, the Commodore Amiga was the computer to own. It actually went on to become the biggest selling home computer at the time. I got the A500 Batman pack, which obviously included Batman, but it also included this game. Now, I remember reading a review of Interceptor in a computer magazine. The graphics looked absolutely incredible. I thought, this can't be true. But I tell you, nothing, absolutely nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to witness when I first entered the game. Now, pretty much every flight sim addict and every magazine that reviewed this game went absolutely crazy over it. I'm still picking up pieces of my jaw to this day off the floor, and I just remember my initial reaction. I literally and physically fell off my chair when I first saw it. Absolutely stunning game, and it still looks great today. This actually paved the way for modern combat flight simulators. Fantastic. last we come to my #1 flight combat simulator, which is the mighty A10C Warthog. An interesting fact to know is that the creators of A10C Warthog developed the simulation to train real-world A10C pilots. Just think about that for a moment. We're playing a simulation that was created to train real A10C pilots. It almost feels wrong to play, but it really shows in the gameplay. Such an incredible simulation.
Takomi, Hog 1-1. Request taxi to runway. 1-1. Takomi, clear to taxi to runway 12.
I've never felt such an experience with any other combat flight simulator of such an authentic, realistic feeling of flight as I get with A10C Warthog. It feels amazing to fly.
Pull up, pull up. Altitude, altitude.
A10C Warthog will take weeks, if not months, to fly properly, but I can promise you it's well worth the investment.